What's up, everybody? Welcome to Episode 2 of the Games with R&D podcast. My name is Garrett Anderson, and today we have Roberto and Dantastic.
Yeah, that's right.
Today we've got a lot to discuss. We'll be jumping into what we've been playing. Also, since Valentine's Day is right around the corner, we're going to be talking about some of the best games to play with your significant other. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about the games we were definitely most hyped for that really disappointed us in the end. So let's just jump right on into it. Dantastic, what have you been playing?
So I recently finished playing Spider-Man on the PS4. And by finished, I mean I platinumed it. And I played that. That's my 17th platinum trophy. Thank you very much. It's awesome. I kind of consider myself like a little bit of a trophy hunter, but not really. Because I've been playing since the dawn of time, my dawn of time. And I only have 17 platinums where I know other people that have 50, 60 platinum trophies. And I aspire to be that type of person. I just don't have the time to sit there and platinum all these games. You know, I have so many that need to work on. You know? And it's not just enough for me to platinum the game. I need to 100% platinum the game. And Spider-Man, I finally 100% platinum because I did all the DLC. Skyrim, I platinumed, but it only is a 69% because of the DLC that came afterwards. Anyways, yeah, I've been playing Spider-Man on the PS4. Super amazing. Loved it. I love the combat system. I love all the different little things that you can do, all the puzzles with the science-y stuff. And then the character models are actually really good too with Miles Morales and with MJ. It's super fun, swinging through the city, just randomly kicking the crap out of people. Or you're just walking around and you're just like, hey, what's going on? I'm Spider-Man, that's right. Yeah, hey, yeah, there's a little button that you can push and you can just kind of, you know, give like those acknowledgement to the people, and then you'll hear somebody yelling at you like, oh, hey, Spider-Man, you know, harnessing that J. Jonah Jameson type vibe. And
He's a menace.
Yeah, he's a menace to the city. And whenever he shows up and his radio is airing, I actually will just stop on top of a building and listen to it just to hear the absurdities. And even if there's something going on or I'm on my way to a mission or anything like that, I'm listening to J. Jonah Jameson. And it is pretty funny how they, you know, portrayed him. And then I just start laughing and I listen to what Peter Parker's saying, you know, afterwards. And it's funny. And once it's done, I start swinging through the city again, and sadly, you can't just, you know, do things to people when they're walking around the street like in GTA. Sure. Because if somebody says something to you in GTA, I have no problem just going up and punching. But in Spider-Man, you kind of have to do your AoE slam attack from a high up building with somebody else. Oh, you want to talk some smack about me? All right, I'm going to climb up this building, slam down. How do you like that now, right? And they fall down, they get up, and they're like, oh, what was that? You know, okay. So they watch, and that's what I've been playing right now.
Let me ask you, I mean, so Insomniac Games.
Insomniac.
Those guys, I think better than anyone, has nailed traversal. I mean, is it fair to say, guys, that, like, probably Spider-Man might be some of the best traversal in a video game, period? Because, yes, you said swinging through the city is good, but no, I mean, I think it's, like, the best mechanic I've ever seen as far as traversal system. I never played, what did they release? Sunset Overdrive?
See, I was going to bring that up, actually, is that I was already excited, and I was already confident in what they could do because of Sunset Overdrive. Which, you know, if you really haven't played it, it's like Tony Hawk Pro Skater with guns.
I've heard that comparison, yeah.
And Sunset Overdrive is just an over-the-top ridiculous game that, you know, it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse, but that started with an energy drink.
Right.
And it just, the absurdities, how you create your character. You know, like, I had one guy with a tutu, super bald, and, you know, had, like, a leather jacket and all this kind of weird stuff going while using a weapon called the compensator.
Sure.
And it was a fun game. I liked it. It played well, and because of how you're able to just, you know, move around the city and that kind of stuff, when they announced that it was them making it, I'm like, this game's gonna be good.
Yeah.
But I already knew that it was gonna be good, but they went over what I thought it was gonna be.
And what a great game and character to decide to, like, what game are we gonna make that really highlights traversal? Because, I mean, everybody wants to be Spider-Man swinging through the city. I think that's, like, really what made that game. I was really surprised about the story, like, how heartfelt it was. Right. I mean, what did you think about that? Like, the conclusion and everything, without spoilers.
No, at the end, I really did actually shed a tear.
Up?
Yeah, I did. I choked up. I had a little tear streaming down. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? No, yeah, it was really satisfying to finish that, and then do all the DLC afterwards, which kind of expanded on the main storyline, and then of course increased the difficulty because you have to do that in order to get the platinum trophy.
Sure.
So I'll start a game typically on normal just to get a feel for how you're supposed to play the game, because a lot of times you don't know what to expect when you're playing a game.
Sure.
So I play it on normal. Once I get a feel for it and I beat the entire game and I go through it again, I'll actually set it to the highest difficulty that I can possibly do.
All right.
And then see if I am good enough to beat it that way.
Nice.
But a lot of times it's because I want to get that damn trophy.
I was really shocked about how entertaining all the side quests were in that game, because honestly, in Spider-Man the world isn't actually that big in comparison to a lot of other open world games,
but it seems huge.
It does seem huge, because you can fast travel in the game. Right. I don't think that's a spoiler, but it's almost an inconvenience to fast travel. It's actually more I think I'm going to swing there.
But I like the cutscenes when you are fast traveling, because then you'll see Spider-Man in the subway.
Yeah, kicking it.
He's just chilling and people are looking at him like, is that actually Spider-Man? Or some dude just cosplaying as Spider-Man?
Right.
You can't really tell. And you actually get a trophy for doing that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I was just there and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm at the very bottom of the map and I need to go to the very top of the map and I don't want to have to swing for another 20 minutes to get over there.
How many times do you have to fast travel, though, to get the trophy?
I think, no, you only have to do it the once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you only have to do it the once.
I probably popped it then.
I think I may have only fast traveled about 3 or 4 times.
Sure.
And out of the entire game, which is really good, because typically in other games that enable fast travel,
all over the
boom,
place.
boom, here and there. Skyrim is the best example of that.
Sure.
I'm all the way out.
I'm not running back to Whiterun.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to go to Dawnstar. I was like, I'm in Whiterun.
Cliff's in my way. I'm not dealing with all this.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to. I wouldn't even take the little hired.
The little carriage guy. Who gives you the ride.
Yeah, for 50 gold or whatever. No, but in Spider-Man I didn't fast travel very often because I thought it was so fun to actually travel around, swinging around, doing all kinds of stuff, and I actually got my fast traveling really well, traveling at a faster rate rather than just kind of normally swinging through the buildings. I'll actually traverse the top of the buildings and use my web zip, so I would go faster, and I would keep doing that over and over, and then and I would get from the bottom to the top in a couple of minutes, and do all of especially the bases when you're fighting the bases of the hordes and hordes of enemies coming at you,
right?
And you're facing off wave after wave of these enemies. Oh my god, when is this going to end? And you finally get to the last guy. And you feel so satisfied, and then you look and you're like, wait, I only got 1 star for that whole thing? No, I gotta redo this.
Right.
So you do it over just to get your 3 stars, because for me, I want to get max stars. That's what I've been playing lately on the PS4. I gotta say, it was super fun. So.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do with it, because they're going to make a sequel.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it did really well as far as just critically and obviously financially.
And they left it open enough so that you can make a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, they did leave it open, and I mean, I'd be really curious to see what villains they bring to the table, and also how they try to, reset it, right? Because I think one of the things that always kind of irks me a little bit, especially with superhero stuff, it's like, I respect they didn't do straight up origin story Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but I feel like one thing that I wouldn't want them to do again is take away all the abilities which you've already unlocked in the previous game. I think a good example of this was one of the Batman games. I am sorry, I don't remember which one it was, but I do remember in one of the Batman games after Arkham Asylum, they actually allowed you to keep all the stuff which you unlocked in the first game. So at the beginning, you still have all of those special abilities, all that equipment at your disposal. And so it'd be kind of interesting to see how they kind of set it back. If they do a prequel, do they set it 20 years in the future?
I think it was Arkham Knight, because Arkham City, they took away those things from you.
Right. I'm just wondering how they're going to set everything back to zero and how they go about doing it. But either way...
I think the way they're going to do it with Spider-Man is... small spoiler alert. Miles Morales is in this, and it's kind of like they did incorporate a Spider-Man origin story in this game, but it's not Peter Parker's origin.
Sure.
It's Miles Morales.
Yeah.
So, Miles Morales was... if if I remember when he came out, it was in the Ultimate Universe.
Yes.
Yeah, Peter Parker died in the Ultimate Universe, and then he was bitten by a different spider, and he has actually different kinds of spider abilities than Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's very similar, but still like that. So I think going forward, if they do make a sequel for Spider-Man, it's probably going to focus on Miles Morales as he starts getting good at being Spider-Man, and with his ability set, that's why they would reset it. And so you're just Peter Parker Spider-Man swinging around.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like the anime that Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
You know,
Which
the
is very
animated.
good.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
such a good movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah. I love that movie. Watch it at least a couple of times a month. So, but I think that's my personal take on it. I think they might focus on Miles Morales.
I can see it.
For sure. The relationship that built in.
Yeah, exactly. How and him actually learning his different abilities as Spider-Man moving forward, and that's how you're going to reset the game and tell a new story, not just your whole I'm Peter Parker, I'm in love with MJ. Oh my God, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Now I got to defeat this person. You know, that's my hot take.
Awesome. Well, Roberto, what have you been playing?
So I forgot to bring this up last time, but I just recently finished the game Katana Zero.
Nice.
And that one was published by Devolver, and I don't know if you guys know Devolver, but they put out some of these weird ass games that normally you wouldn't see any other place without them. And the thing about this one is you are this. Just think of games like Mr. Shifty. Think of games like Hotline Miami, where you get shot once. You have to reset the whole thing. Well, you're this samurai guy living in this, big city, and his power when he dies, or time can go back. When he dies, it goes backwards, and so his power is to slow down time or repel back bullets and that kind of thing, and he doesn't know why or what his. What happened before he became this mercenary, pretty much.
How far back does time go whenever he dies?
From the beginning of the stage itself.
Oh, okay.
And so when you actually complete that section, it becomes more of a videotape. So it's the camera that shows everything that you did, and
oh, that's neat.
Perfect. Everything happens perfectly, and there's so many things that changes in this. Just depending on how you execute your mission, how you talk to people, because you have options and when you're talking to somebody. So, for example, I'm trying to figure out more of the story. I'm trying to figure out how this world is. But you can just automatically press A and just tell people to F off. So, you don't get anything out of it. You just continue the story and all this kind of stuff. But for example, in the first one, you can try to get into a hotel to take down your mark. And what I did was I went and talked to the person, the receptionist in the game.
Sure.
And she's like, "Oh, you're a cosplayer." I'm like, "Yes, I'm a cosplayer." And
you just rolled with it, yeah.
And I just rolled with it. And after I take down the mark, I go and. The police is like, "Hey, you, stop there. You have a sword and you're wearing a bathrobe. That's so weird." And she's like, "No, he's cosplaying as somebody."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're cosplaying? Who are you cosplaying?" And I say the name that she gave me. It's
sure.
like, "Oh, okay. That's cool. You can go." And, and just, that's the end of my mission. And so it could have been a lot worse if I didn't do it that route. Depending on how you do the mission, it'll have some ramifications at the end. And so at first, I thought I was doing a decent job. Everything was going well. My boss was happy with everything I was doing. But then it became more like stealth missions. Okay. And that's where I was having a lot of problems. And so the police started, saying like, "Oh, this is the guy that's doing this stuff." And so my boss became more and more angry. And so at a specific part of the story, he's like, "All right, we have to get rid of you." And so the story just starts changing from there. But there's so many pop references, so many game references. Like there was was it Pyramid Head?
Okay.
Was like an extra boss you could fight if you wanted to.
Okay.
Which I didn't do because I just like saw him like, nope, I'm out, and just
Not doing that.
not doing that. But there was like a Yu-Gi-Oh reference too with another receptionist for a different reason, and you know. I forgot like my name badge, and she's like,
Oh, no.
Oh, where's your name badge? I'm like, you mean my trap card? And then it became the whole options became more of a Yu-Gi-Oh card game options.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, now you activated my trap card, and she's like, no, and all this stuff, and I got an achievement for that. I'm like, oh my god, there's achievements for doing just this ridiculous stuff,
Random stuff,
but.
yeah.
The boss battles are the things that not only like how you navigate, you have different ways of going through each one, but the boss battles just became harder and harder, and so it's all about reaction, making sure that you're hitting, you're blocking, you're throwing back those shots, you're not using your meter when it comes to slowing down time and that kind of stuff. I got agitated a few times. I would take my breaks, sleep it off, go back. Finally beat it. I'm like, yes, and then just continued from there. I'm sad that not a lot of people are playing that game.
What is the name of the game again?
Katana Zero.
Katana Zero.
Yeah, and it's just, it's one of those games that I've been playing most, that I just finished, and I'm hoping there's a new story, because at the end, it just like, it's still open-ended. They made it so there can be a sequel to it.
So I'm having trouble visualizing. Is it a platformer, or is it like in third person perspective? Is it top down? Like, how were you?
So it's a side scroller.
Side scroller.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
It's definitely not a Metrovania. It has platforming aspects, but it's akin to, like I said, Mr. Shifty,
right.
or the Hotel Hotline Miami games.
Got it. Okay, I can visualize it now. That's awesome.
And then the soundtrack. Oh, the soundtrack's so good. That's the other thing I forgot to bring up.
What are we talking here? Are we talking about like dirty, grimy techno?
Depending on the level.
Sure.
So there's one where you're inside a club, and so it's
slapping.
It's slapping. It hits so hard, and it's just you're trying to invade the security guards and everything, and you're just hearing the music going on at the same time. And when you get and you take down that mark, everything just becomes like super serious, and the music it's still hitting hard, but it's different. Each level is going to be different depending on the scenario, and it's just always good.
It's awesome.
And I keep forgetting to buy that album, but I'm going to buy that too.
I always love how music will change your video game experience.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You're in for a rough ride when you go from one sound, and next thing you know, the boss battle starts, and it's, this really operatic, and then they start putting lyrics in.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, okay, when you're facing off against Sephiroth.
Oh, yeah.
Or anything in one of the Final Fantasy games, it starts off and it's just, or Idea from Final Fantasy VIII, it's like, it's going and it's very dark and gothic, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh, I finally beat her, and then the music changes, like, wait, I think I have another part of this boss battle.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it gets harder.
I was also going to bring up when you go against Lance on Gold and Silver.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's right.
For
yeah,
sure.
The music changes all the time. Yeah, even in Pokemon games, it does that. You're okay, I'm done. No, I am not. But yeah.
And then it just gets harder, and I'm like, oh, let's go!
Right? Music it'll pump you up.
Music is definitely an ingredient for the immersion, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's actually a huge part of the game that I've been playing. What I'm going to say about this game is it's really odd how sometimes a game can kind of come into your life at like an exact perfect time. And what I mean by that is, just finishing Remnant from the Ashes, which we discussed last week. If you haven't listened to that, definitely go back and check it out. But that game is very trying, okay? It requires all of you. You are constantly dying. There's a lot of frustration, stress, anxiety, which is involved, which is very rewarding. But like I said, it's just so taxing on you mentally. I continued down my Steam library, still in the Fs, guys, but I stumbled upon a little game called Far From Noise. And it's really impressive. It was developed and published by one man. His name is George Batchelor. So I want you to visualize Far From Noise. Basically, the scene opens up. It fades from black to an image of a beautiful shoreline cliff. The trees are blowing. Wind is going through the leaves. You can hear it bristling back and forth. There are birds chirping. There are the sound of bugs buzzing around. And it's absolutely gorgeous landscape. All cel-shaded, bright, vibrant colors. Picture perfect. The sun is beaming. Absolutely gorgeous. You'd want to hang this picture on your wall. But something is very out of place. There happens to be a car dangling precariously from the side of a cliff. And I mean about to fall off a cliff. And not just a little cliff. A steep, I'm going to kill you cliff. A cliff that you will not come back for. There is no way you are surviving if this car falls off. So you see the trunk of the car lifting up and going down. And then dialogue comes on. And you soon realize you are playing as the person trapped inside this car. And basically, this is a visual novel, narrative-driven game, completely driven by the dialogue choices that you make. Along your voyage, which doesn't change much, you're staying in the car the entire time. You're choosing what to say, and what you say affects the world around you. If you become negative, you'll see the environment becomes negative. The birds will go away. The storm will come in. If you're positive, things will sound better. Birds will chirp. The wind won't be as hard and violent. Along comes a companion, a very unlikely companion, a deer. Now, I like to call this deer, a stag for some people who are a little bit more educated, wants to be a therapist to you. And it starts asking you the bigger questions of life. What is life? What is death? So this game very much is a hit you in the feels kind of game that is asking a bigger question. When I was done with this game, it only took me about an hour and a half to finish, I needed a nap. And not because I was bored, but because it kind of brought me back down to earth. It's a game about embracing everything around you. And it's beautiful. There's stars, the moon, the sun, the air. The game basically purely relies on all of these set tone pieces. And once again, the image never pans. It's always focusing on this one image of this beautiful landscape with this car teetering. And you find out a lot more about the person inside the car. I don't want to go too much into that because I think that that's where you're going to start to get spoilers. But I will tell you there are multiple endings. And a lot of that depends upon what you decide to say to this deer. And really, it's all about kind of reflecting on your own life. And the game really was able to make me kind of take a step back and realize, you know what? Life isn't that bad. Even in the worst situations that I have found myself in, there is somebody who is a lot worse off than I am. The score is incredible. The score is actually done by a guy named Jeff Linton. And when I say score, it's very symphonic, right? A lot of symphony. And it's played beautifully into the game. There are scenes where once the sun has set, the stars will come out. And the music completely changes and starts to pan slowly in on constellations. And, pan slowly back from the moon. And it's just very powerful and impactful. Like, as far as the way it makes you feel is definitely next level. Is this game for everyone? No. If you want some fast action-paced AAA developed, slammer, this isn't it. But if you're coming off of a game that, requires a lot of you, maybe it was like a 150-hour open world RPG, maybe it was an incredibly intense first-person shooter, I think this is what I would consider an extremely good wind-down game. I could see myself playing this again after a long day's work. I could see myself playing this again when I was feeling depressed. I feel like anybody who suffers from any sort of depression or anxiety would actually benefit from this game. This is a perfect example of a game that is a great argument, are games art. Like, this game is 100% art. It's available right now on Steam. It's also available on mobile, I found out. At least on iPhone. I don't know if it's on the Google Play Store for Android, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't, because literally all you're doing is tapping dialogue. The writing, though, superb. 100% worth the cost. I think it's like $8. I got it in a bundle. You could probably find it on sale $2 or $3 on a regular basis. But that's it. It's called Far From Noise. I think that it's definitely worth checking out.
I like the way that sounds because, like you were saying, you came off of a very intense game. And when you come off of a very intense game and then you want to play another intense game, you can't. You need something, like you said, to wind down.
Sure.
And that's kind of like a good mind wipe. Okay, let's get that old game out of there. Let me try to focus now on the new game.
Yeah.
And for you to play, so what was it called again?
Far From Noise.
Far From Noise, right.
Yeah.
So something I might want to check out.
Yeah,
because I play a lot of intense game. Yeah, it's exactly, palate cleanser. You came off of playing a really, really handshaking game when you finish beating it, and now you're like, okay, now I'm a little bit zen. You actually learned something about yourself almost.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I didn't plan it. That was just the next game that had to be up in the Fs, and I'm so glad, and that's why I'm doing this just perilous adventure through my Steam library, which I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, usually I change platforms though when it comes from video games. So I'll take a break from video games after I beat a game, and I'll play something like a board game. Or I'll go out to my LGS and play Magic the Gathering for a little while.
Right.
And then I'll come back and I'm like, okay, now I'm in the new mindset.
Sure.
Because I mind wiped all of that. And now I'm playing something else. Okay, now I can play my Death Stranding, or I can play Ni no Kuni, Revenant Kingdom, or I can play something else,
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Jumping out of that, we are going to jump into the games that we were most hyped for, excited for, that ended up being absolutely disappointing to us. I think we've all been there. We've all seen the trailers. We've seen the gameplay. We've heard the promises. We went out, bought the game, full price, day one, only to find out, oof, this is not what it was being touted to be. Let's just jump right on into Roberto. What is the game that you were most hyped for that ended up being the most disappointing?
So, for me, I guess I'll just start with Watch Dogs. E3, all of us, just seeing the trailers, seeing the gameplay footage that they had just looked gorgeous. Next gen kind of stuff at the end of the PS3 and coming in for the PS4. And this is during the time when I was actually still working at GameStop. And, me super excited, always, looking for the next big game, especially, when it came to Ubisoft. I've always liked Ubisoft games when it comes to, like, Rayman and that kind of thing. But this one, I'm like, hacking? Yes. Shooting and being, the guy that's using computers and getting people and putting them to sleep? Awesome. Using cameras to explode things? Even cooler. And so, I brought that energy to work because I was excited. People were excited, and people that didn't know about this game, all I just had to say was like, just check out the trailer. Go check out the trailer. See if you like it. If you do, just come back to me. And 9 out of 10 times, they would come back. And because I worked at GameStop, that was like the game that I had a lot of people reserve. I actually became the best person to get reserves for Watch Dogs in my district. And when that game finally came out, like a week after it came out, I started feeling bad. Because, I thought, the game was okay, but it wasn't as good as they promised.
Sure.
With that, I'm also like, I feel like I lied to these people too. Because I'm the one that was telling them this game looks great, this game is going to be amazing, and it's going to do, new things for the realm of video games.
Sure.
And it wasn't. It was just, it was okay. It wasn't what they were telling us. I tried to do everything I could. And this is also when I found out I'm not really big into open world games. Too many things going on at the same time, getting distracted too easily, just trying to do the story, but there's always like, I need help. I'm like, but I'm right there for the next mission. Like, well, if you don't do this, your rating goes down. I'm like, okay, fine.
What do you think that they did wrong? Or what? No, better question. What do you think they could have improved on?
Well, making sure that, the graphics of the game, the story, Aiden as an actual character.
Yeah.
Always mopey and sad and like, why? I get it. Your child died. We know. I get the feeling. I understand losing somebody, but you don't always have to be like that. I did like that I was I hacked somebody that was a writer for like Twilight. So
Oh man.
yeah.
Yeah, I played Watch Dogs, and I didn't dislike it, but it definitely wasn't anything that they had promised it to be. And what I mean by that, when they showed that trailer, that was E3, God, I couldn't even tell you the year. But when that came out, I mean, there was rain falling from the sky, he was sliding over the, like, hood of the car, there was
saw, like, the
police
droplets
chase
hitting him and then
scenes.
dripping.
Yes, they were showing that, and that trailer was completely nothing like the visual representation that it ended up being in the game. And then, like you'd said, I think Aiden was just such a dry character. Like, he just had, like, nothing.
No.
Like, he could have been named anything. Empty shell guy who must rescue child. It was not great.
Yep. The driving mechanics on that was horrible.
Oh,
as
no,
well.
yeah, it
God,
was.
don't even
I
get
don't
me
even
started with
remember
driving. Yeah, there were some driving missions in Watch Dogs, and it was almost to the point where you had to get it absolutely perfect, or else you would fail that mission. Yeah, the physics in the driving was just horrible, and
The controls were bad.
the controls were bad. The cars were very. It was like they were driving on ice all the time.
Oh yeah,
It was
Exactly.
really bad.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, and I come from, I play a lot of racing games. I played Gran Turismo. I played Forza. I played RC Pro Am. I played all these, racing games, and
Mario Kart.
yeah, Mario. Dude, even Mario Kart has way better
Oh, yeah.
physics than that. And you go into Watch Dogs, I was like, oh yeah, I get to get into a car, I get to drive. Nope, horrible.
You're like, I'll walk.
I love the hacking aspect of the game. I
See,
love that.
The thing that I really liked was the territory missions where you were able to see like all these gang members in these buildings, and you take over the cameras. I felt like Jigsaw. Because I was able to
game.
I was pretty much doing that, but I was just using the cameras to take down everyone. And so, I was like, see the patterns and like, okay, this person walks here and this person is going to be right next to him who has a grenade. So I'm going to blow this guy up, and then, they're going to start running around. And from there, I'm like, all right, this guy is now running to this guy. So I just continued doing the same thing. And it was entertaining because, it was a little chaotic, but I was still able to do different things to them. So like, oh, I'm going to shock you, and now this person's going to come to you, but that person has a grenade, so I'm going to blow up the grenade, and then get 3 people at once. Yeah.
Fun.
Absolutely.
Fun.
Well, fantastic.
Fantastic. It's not just a name, it's a way of life.
It is.
It is,
Tell
yeah.
me about the game you were most hyped for that disappointed you.
Okay, it's Dragon Age 2.
Oof, I've heard bad things.
I played Dragon Age Origins, and that game was amazing.
Yes, it was.
It was very true to RPG roots. It looked beautiful for the time that it was out. And when they announced Dragon Age 2, I got super hyped about it. And I was the number one advocate. Let's play this game. Let's do it. It's Dragon Age. The first one was amazing. There was so much DLC. Let's play it. It's all good. And then it came out. And it was very different.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same. I thought it was going to be at least in the same style, kind of what they did with Dragon's Dogma.
Sure.
And that one was super fun because you get to pick up your friends and slam them against the wall, and they'd just be like, dude, what are you doing? Anyways, Dragon Age 2 was just very, very different, and then the storyline was very diluted. And while the graphics kind of looked all right, it was just a very different style of game. They still tried to incorporate the same aspect of it, of having your warrior, having your mage, having your rogue going through there, and they still kept the whole romance thing going on where you can try to, do it with certain other NPCs and stuff like that. But
options,
it just didn't have the same feel as the original Dragon Age, and that's what really, really disappointed me. And then so many other people. It wasn't even just me. It was it was a lot.
The internet was upset, I remember.
Very, very upset with that. And I think they tried to fix that with Dragon Age Inquisition.
I like that, yeah.
And Inquisition is very good. I've only played maybe 3 hours of it collectively.
Solus is my boy.
Right. I haven't played it too much, so but I definitely have that on my list of games that I'm going to play.
Yeah.
But so far I liked it. I'm like, okay, but yeah, Dragon Age 2, that was one of the games that I just.
I remember hearing, and tell me if this is true, that you ended up having to go into the same dungeons over and over again. It basically had you going into the same areas where, even in the first Dragon Age, it was very much open world.
It was.
Once you went through an area, there was very little reason to go back.
It was very linear too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd always go back to your main city. You would go, and then you would have the day and night cycle sometimes, and you'd have to go in. You have to infiltrate an area, but then you'd be going into the same caves, going into the same areas, it was very linear as opposed to the first game where it was very open world and you could travel wherever you wanted to go. And there were a couple of parts in Dragon Age 2 where you could open world look around, but it was very, very, very small. Not as good as I thought it would be. The combat system was pretty not bad, and I say pretty not bad because it just wasn't anything stellar.
Could you still slow down and stop time and assign your party to do specific attacks or spells and such?
You kind of could.
Okay.
It wasn't as detailed as the first Dragon Age.
Yeah.
But you kind of could. I mean, like you, I always play as female characters.
Sure.
Because I would prefer to look at a woman's ass than a guy's ass the entire time that I'm playing the game. Hey, why not, right?
Yeah.
And I've used the same name throughout every single game. And that's it's Lina Morata, which is it's Italian and it's basically my love.
Nice.
It's a loose translation of my love, but every single and it has a little apostrophe in there. So every person that I created in a game that's a girl has that name. And if I don't fit the entire name, her name will just be Lina.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Which is good. It's fun. But yeah, Dragon Age 2, and then the other game way back in the 90s was actually Shaq Fu.
I never played Shaq Fu.
So,
I know nothing about that.
I was still in high school when this game came out. It was 1994. I was a junior. And me and my buddies were like, oh my god, dude, there's a new fighting game coming out. It's got Shaq in it, and it's going to be super cool. It's going to be so awesome. And he just has a basketball, and he throws it in your face. And how many times did you want to do that? Like, yeah, all right. So we all got it. Shaq Fu. Clunkiest game ever. It was practically unplayable. I couldn't deal with it. I mean, yeah, it looked amazing. And graphics were very good, but the inputs were just cringeworthy. Like, I'm trying to do the move. I can't do this move. And it just never panned out. We played the game for 2 hours and then we returned it.
Nice.
Yeah.
You get your money back?
We did.
Hooray.
We did. We knew the people over at the game store at the time, which wasn't GameStop. It was...
EB Games?
It might have been EB Games, but I think it was Funko Land.
Okay.
Funko was in Conningtown.
Well, no. This is back in Los Angeles, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is back in Los Angeles. Me and my buddy David Lozano. Shout out to David Lozano. Hopefully he's listening to this. It's awesome. Haven't actually seen him in a while. Still lives in the same place, I heard, though. Anyways, yeah, this game was so bad. He kept his version. I took mine back.
I've heard people talk about Shaq Fu. I don't think I've actually ever even seen a screenshot of Shaq Fu.
I think they just redid a new one, right?
Yeah,
Shaq Fu
just made a new
Legend
one.
Reborn.
Yeah, it was...
Yeah. Not good.
I managed to avoid Dragon Age 2 because I played the first one, and for whatever reason I didn't have the funds to purchase the second one, but I was able to see the reviews and everybody talking so negatively about it that I was like, oh, good.
You dodged a bullet.
I dodged a bullet on that one.
I still played it and beat it, and I still got my trophy on there. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Wasn't the DLC supposed to be better for the game, though?
They kind of made it a little bit better, but it wasn't.
Is that the one with Felicia Day?
No, actually, back then I wasn't paying attention to who were the voice actors. I didn't get into voice actors until Final Fantasy with Allie Hillis and Jen Hill, who also did Mass Effect. Allie Hillis is Liara.
Oh, was she Liara?
Yeah, Allie Hillis is Liara, and that's who I always had the romantic connection with, because I was like, ooh. But yeah, she was also the voice of Lightning in the Final Fantasy series, Final Fantasy 13.
All right.
But yeah, that's what I was disappointed about.
Man.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take you in a time machine back to 2011. I'm watching X-Play. Remember Adam Sessler? Mm-hmm. He's on there.
Morgan Webb?
Oh, yeah, Morgan Webb. They're talking about this game called Brink, right? And it's published by my boys over at Bethesda. And it's developed by this team called Splash Damage. And I'm all ready to go because they are showing an extremely awesome looking first-person shooter. It really had a lot of parkour elements. They were showing like wall running, sliding, double jumping, and the gameplay in this looked absolutely phenomenal. And it promised some really awesome competitive multiplayer along with a really decent story-driven campaign. So I went to GameStop, the one upstairs. I pre-ordered it. Went there, day one, bought it, and the guy looked at me and he's like, "Oh, you're here to get Brink? Did you see the reviews on Brink?" And I'm like, "No, why?" He's all, "If you want to bring it back, it's cool, man." And I was like, "Oh no," because I had driven all the way down there and I had taken the day off work for this game. Like I had literally put in a time off request to take this day off to play this game. I get home, I fire it up, and I just knew it was booty from the get-go. I mean, even the menu looked terrible. I mean, the menu options just looked ghetto. I mean, just old. Even in that, like 2011, everything was just terrible. And it was just... okay, it launched me into the campaign. The voice acting was off. Everything the way that it looked like, basically in the trailer, obviously, it showed this big, grandioso, action scene with high-fidelity dudes running around, shooting guns, and just looking awesome, and it just wasn't. I mean, everything about it was bad. And it wasn't just visually bad, and it didn't just sound bad via the voice acting. It played terrible, too. And part of the way... these maps were not great. I mean, these maps were really designed poorly. All the guns, it felt like I was shooting the same gun every time I had a different gun. I couldn't tell you the difference between an SMG to an assault rifle to a shotgun. They all sounded like BB guns to me. There was no sort of impact behind them. And this is coming off of, playing games that were really, really good that were first-person shooters, right? Like BioShock and Call of Duty and all these other really good, competent first-person shooters. So yeah, I just remember being so disappointed because here I had used 8 hours of vacation pay and I had gone to GameStop, spent $60 on the game, and I brought it back and the dude gave me my money back, which was super nice of him. I don't know if I got a full refund or he only gave me $40 of the $60 I spent, but either way, I think I ended up going home, oddly enough, with Alan Wake after that, which ended up being a phenomenal game. So I ended up being okay in the turn. I'm going to bring it full circle. I ended up returning a game that was really bad and walking out of there with a game that was really good. I don't have much else to say other than that. Just, I think that game in particular kind of taught me the valuable lesson. It is very rare that I buy a game on day one now. I mean, almost never do I pre-order anything. I couldn't tell you, actually, the last time I pre-ordered a game. We're fortunately now that the internet is a very powerful thing, and usually even before, reviews from major websites are up, you're already kind of seeing what the feel in the air is before a game is released. But yeah, I think that was the turning point for me personally, that Brink was so bad, it really made me question whether or not I should ever pre-order a game ever again, if it's worth it.
But it depends on your fan base, though. I mean, for me,
sure,
Pokemon would be the one that I would always pre-order no matter what.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I get, having an alliance to a specific brand, especially if you trust that brand 100%. But, I mean, nowadays, I don't know. I think that I could pre-order Cyberpunk, coming up games that I could think of. I could see myself pre-ordering the Doom, but I don't think I am. I just, Brink was one of those, just scarring memories of gaming for me that I'll just never do that again.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to pre-ordering, I want to say it's just, it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Niche games, those are the ones that you have to be careful with.
Sure.
So, anything that during the time I was there, Vita games or PS3 or PS4 that were, visual novels, those ones, if you didn't reserve them on time, we won't even get them in.
Oh, yeah.
For another one, it's not a visual style game, visual novel game, but the Senra Kagura games that the beat 'em up style. What's a good way of saying that?
Streets of Rage type games or what?
No, Senra Kagura games. The female versus female wearing bikini style games. That one, it was one of those, like, I always had one person that would reserve this game, and only that copy would come in. And, I would have, after that, like, maybe 2 people coming in, like, hey, do you guys have this game? Like, yeah, but I have only for the person that reserved it. Like, why? Because nobody really asked for this game. Not that nobody asked, but, there's not a lot of big group of people that want to get it. So, like, anything when it's niche, I kind of question it. I also, like, Namco Bandai is notorious for this stuff, especially for, like, their Digimon games. For example, like the Digimon Cyber Sleuth game that came out on the PS4 and the Vita. If you didn't pre-order that game, there was no other way of getting, like, the Black Agumon or Black Gabumon Digimon skin forms, because that's the only way of getting the Dark Digimon on that. I unfortunately, reserved it on the PS4, but I didn't reserve it on the Vita because I was like, I'll get it later. I tried to cross save it. My file wasn't able to go through because I didn't have the pre-order bonus on my Vita, because I bought that version later when it was on sale. And, I sent a message to Namco Bandai, like, hey, I pre-ordered on the PlayStation, but got it later on the Vita. Are you guys going to release this later? They're like, no, we're not going to release this later. I'm like, damn.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. It just depends on how the reserves work. I'm not saying it's a good thing about reserves, but there's some things that it doesn't hurt to reserve it just in case.
Sure. Well, so those were the games that most disappointed us, that we were the most hyped for. And it's time to jump into, guess what? It's Valentine's Day almost, and love is in the air. And so we're going to do a little talk about the games that are best played with your significant other. I think that in some people's cases, like my own, it's kind of hard to get my significant other to play a game. So obviously, I have to think really good and hard about what games are best suited for sitting on the couch with my loved one and enjoying an evening. So let's talk about that for a second. Roberto, what do you have?
So I have 2 games that I want to talk about.
Sure.
The first one actually could work for you. Until Dawn. PlayStation exclusive. It was made by Supermassive Games. Came out in 2015. But the thing about that one person can control the game while the other one's watching. And it feels like a movie. It's a I want to say maybe 5-6 hour game. The the motion capture tech that they're using, the actors and actresses that they use are really good. I think this is before what's his name from Bohemian Rhapsody, the actor that won the Oscar for his portrayal of
Freddie Mercury, which is an awesome movie, by the way. I loved it.
No, we're not going to start this, but...
Later, Jen.
Later. So many words I want to talk to you about that. But he's in it. He's actually going to be, speaking of that, going to be the villain on the new Bond movie, which I'm super excited about. I digress. The game has a butterfly effect, so your options, the things that you do in this game will reflect later. But the interesting thing is that any of these characters can die, and depending on how you make the story go, you can whatever option you do, they could die, they could get hurt, they could get devoured by something else. There's different things you can do in this game, but it's a horror, so you can always do something, make it feel like a movie. The story it's interesting. It's a group of friends that come together after the mourning death of a friend as well, and they go back to this cabin, and then that's where everything just goes upside down.
Awesome. What is the second one?
The second one is Snipper Clips. It was a launch game for the Switch, and you're pretty much these 2 little guys, the little rectangles, and your whole objective is to make an image, and that's how you clear the stage.
Okay.
But each image is a little different. There's always like a little theme on each new puzzle, and so you guys actually have to cut each other to make this image.
Okay.
And so you guys have to communicate to be able to do what you want to do.
takes teamwork.
It takes teamwork, and then you could just mess around, mess with them. You know, you could just cut them and cut them until they disappear, but they come back to life.
Do the images become progressively harder?
Yes, they do.
It's stage based.
Oh yeah, it's very stage based.
We start with what, like a triangle, and then it turns into like a massive pentagon at one point.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then you have to there's one that you have to try to like get this. You have to get this ball into this hoop.
Okay.
And it's just you two. So you're just like, okay, how do we do this?
Sure.
And there's different ways of doing it, but it just depends on, whatever you guys can figure out. I mean, it was one of those games that when my girlfriend and I were just waiting, like, the DMV or, when we were in line for Disneyland or that kind of stuff, we just pull out the Switch, take out the controllers, and just, like, let's try to figure it out. And, when this topic came up, the first thing that came up was Until Dawn. But I had to look around and like, why didn't I think of Snipper Clips before? Why wasn't this one of the games that came up right off the bat? And there's so many different puzzles you could do in that game. Plus the expansion that they released for the game too, which I need to get still. The Snipper Clips is a fun game. If you guys like puzzles and you want to work together, there's that.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Definitely, I could see there being a lot of funny hijinks going on, and just playing with another person that's right next to you when you have to solve this pretty hard puzzle. I mean, at the end of the day, you feel like you get some teamwork and good high fives and bring you that much closer together. Dantastic. What's a game would you recommend?
I wouldn't recommend just a game.
Okay.
I'd recommend a series of games.
Okay, let's hear it.
The Lego series games.
Okay.
Because there's always going to be something that your partner will like.
Sure.
That maybe necessarily you wouldn't like.
Right.
I love Star Wars.
Okay.
But maybe my girlfriend, which I don't actually have right now, but maybe the person that I'm with might not like Star Wars. And they might be into Harry Potter. Well, guess what? There's a Lego game for that.
Sure.
Lego Indiana Jones, Lego Star Wars, Lego Batman, Lego DC Superheroes, Lego all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
It's amazing. Lego Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. Those are cooperative games. They're funny. They're, not very difficult. They don't induce rage. It'll bring you closer together. You can sit on the couch and both just have a little bit of fun. It's all good. Those games right there are super fun to play. I mean, I've always played them. I had a really good time. I've actually platinumed a couple of them. It was the Lego Marvel Superheroes on the Vita and all that stuff like that. Again, going back to all the stuff that I like to do. But I think that would be some of the things that you could do. And then to disconnect, I actually would recommend a couple of board games.
Okay.
Maybe a couple of cooperative board games. You could play something like Zombicide. You just want to kill a bunch of zombies, like I said, last time.
Who doesn't love
to kill zombies?
Sure.
But this game is actually really fun because it is completely co-op. You have 6 different people that you could choose from. You can have one person do 3 people, another person do the other 3 people, and then you go around, and the game gets harder the more you actually play it. And then there's more zombies on there. It's super fun. Formula D, which is a car racing board game. Which is super fun. I love playing that, and it brings out the competitive nature in other people too.
Sure.
Like, oh, I'm finally gonna beat you in this race. Like I'm not that physically fit, but at the same time, I could still probably beat some other people at physical stuff. Even Gloomhaven, where you have to be cooperative, it's more of a video game RPG in board game form.
Yeah, that's a big game
it's
too, right?
Behemoth.
So many things.
Oh my god, the box when it's sealed is 22 pounds.
Oh my gosh,
22 pounds.
That's crazy.
I took a picture of the box of Gloomhaven when I got it, compared next to a regular sized can of Dr. Pepper, and that box dwarfed the can of soda and made it look like a mini can of soda. It was insane. Awesome. And it was heavy. It was 22 pounds. Like I said, it's a behemoth of a game, and there's an expansion for it too. And granted, what was it? 98, 99, or maybe more than 100 actual scenarios in the original Gloomhaven. And with the expansion, they added an extra 40 to 50 more scenarios that you can do. Keep leveling up, you unlock more stuff. The more you do, you go like that. Even if it's not like a specific game, there was one time, I remember, back when I met my now ex-wife. And one of the best memories that I actually have with her was when I went over to her house and her brother had an SNES.
Okay.
We were just visiting each other. I went over to visit. She goes, "You want to play video games?" Oh yeah, I want to play some video games. I love video games. We started playing Super Off-Road, the Baja, which is a racing game.
Okay.
Okay? And the way we did it was, you get to upgrade, your engine, you upgrade your tires, you upgrade your lights, and you do all this and that. And there were fun little things that happened in the game, too. There were deer on the side of the road, and then there were people on the side of the road watching it, and you're just driving, trying to go as fast. You buy your nitrous and try to blow by the whole thing. Well, we'd sit there and we would laugh and laugh and laugh because we came up with this little thing where if you hit the people or if you hit a deer, you actually lost money and you lost points. And they would do these insane screams like, ah! We thought it was the funniest thing ever. And we were bonding and we were laughing over this. So then we got really quiet and we actually got our truck. We turned off the lights and we got really, really close to a deer.
Oh, man.
And we hit the nitrous button, just bam, like that, just so we can blast through this deer. And
oh, man.
It was the funniest thing because then you just hear, ah! Skull and Crossbones shows up, everything like that. And we did this enough to where we got her mother kind of scared, like, what are you guys doing? It's too quiet in there.
Oh, no.
She busts into the room, bam, what are you guys doing? And we're sitting there laughing like, she goes, oh, y'all are just playing video games. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, like, that's it.
Yeah, thinking that we were getting into some hanky-panky.
Sure.
That was the one of the... It doesn't matter what kind of video game you play with your significant other, as long as you're having fun.
That's true. I'm with that.
And a racing game, well, depending on, personality of the people.
Sure.
I mean, it wouldn't be one of those typical games that you would want to play. Catherine or Bayonetta, something like that. Yeah. But it's just fun. As long as you're having fun, that's really all that matters. Pick up any.
I agree. I definitely agree.
I actually want to bring up, because you brought board games, Elder Signs is another one I would recommend, because that one you can actually play up to 2 players, starting with 2 players. Different characters from what is it called?
It's like the Cthulhu mythos?
Yeah, Cthulhu mythos. Pretty much it is a Cthulhu mythos, and you're trying to get, stop them from summoning them and, killing you. But it's a dice game, so, it's all about chance.
It is.
But you can control that chance by using cards, your spells and all this stuff. And when you brought that up, I'm like, that's another game that you can play together when it comes to that.
Right.
So, just going right on into what I would recommend. So, when I think about playing a game with a significant other, it has to be a relaxing game, something that just helps you escape and unwind at the end of the day. And I think I just would have to recommend Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley came out in 2016, and it was developed over 4 years by one guy named Eric Barone, I believe is how you say his last name. Either way, Eric made a masterpiece. I mean, it was published by Chucklefish. And I don't really believe that they knew what they had on their hands, because I feel like Stardew Valley, even though it's considered an indie, it's definitely skyrocketed into like what I would consider like the AAA indie form. It's on every platform. Like I said, it came out in 2016 on PC, but now it's on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, iOS, Android. You can play that game on any platform. And I mean, it's a basic role-playing simulation game where you play as a character who's escaping the hustle-bustle of everyday life in a very large city to basically go to your deceased grandfather's decrepit farm. You show up at this place called Stardew Valley to visit this farm, and it's just in shambles. I mean, the farm is just in the worst possible shape. And the game kind of just sets you loose and says, okay, go figure it out.
Just have at it.
And there's no real incentive, right? The game does give you objectives, but there's no overarching mission, really. I mean, you're not going to get faulted for going and exploring the town, just fixing up the farm. You can take this game at your own pace. You can go fishing. You can garden. If you want to go try your luck in the cave and go spelunking and dungeon crawling, you can do that too. The reason why I think this is such a great game to play with your significant other is in the recent update, they introduced cooperative mode, which people have been asking for a long time. So 2 people, actually up to 4, can basically have their own huts on the same farm. Now this changes the game dramatically. There is a day and night cycle in Stardew Valley, and you do have a stamina meter, meaning you can only do so much in a day, right? Because just like in a town in real life, stores are only open from specific hours of the day. They open at 9, they close at 5. This also is going to limit the interactions that you have with specific people in the town throughout the day, because these people have everyday lives as well. It's not like you can go find the, lady that you're trying to court at like 12 midnight by the lamppost. She goes to bed. And you can't just be going up in her house in the middle of the night because that's just creepy and weird. So you do have to follow the regular rules of life, right? But with 4 players, you could imagine how quickly you'd be able to get your farm set up. And there is a very addictive loop. The crafting in it is super, super get you by the hook and just make you want more. Because really how it all starts is you have a very basic axe, but if you get enough wood and stone, you can upgrade that axe. Once you get this axe, then you can do this. And it's just this never-ending loop of continuous crafting and modifying. And you can get real creative. Some of the stuff that I have seen online as far as people's farms is intense. Way more intense than I ever got. I probably put about 70 to 80 hours of gameplay. But like I said, everything from just the ambiance, the soundtrack, just the way the game plays, and its very casual, relaxing form, I do believe Stardew Valley would be an awesome experience. I would almost, just as a test, like to put 2 people in a room on a first date and watch them play Stardew Valley and watch what they do. Do they become farmers? Meaning, do they raise livestock together? Do they decide to grow grapes and start a winery and a brewery? Do they become warrior legends and just go into the caves and defeat all the goblin creatures to become legend? There's so many adventures just waiting to be had in Stardew Valley. And man, that would be just a cool experience to have with my wife. And I don't think she'll ever listen to this. And she doesn't love video games. But that is definitely one game. If I could just get her in, I feel like it's just basic enough and just special enough that maybe it could even convert somebody who wasn't really into games into playing this game. I really do believe it's that good.
Well, you have to get them into that gateway video game.
Sure.
Of Mario.
Yeah. Right.
Mario Kart or just regular Mario, because then that's it's their gateway drug.
Absolutely.
I played a little bit of Mario. Okay, and even then you could still play as Mario and Luigi in some of the Mario games.
For sure.
Especially the newer ones on the Switch and all that.
Well, that's it. I hope you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day. And I think that's a podcast. My name's Garrett Anderson. We have Roberto.
Hello.
Dantastic.
Fantastic.
And thank you so much for listening to the Games with R&D podcast. We're out.
Yay.